Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, listeners. Today, on the edition of Our Girlington podcast, we have a very special guest. We have Mabsy Alam, who's the head instructor at Gamefight Bradford. So, I'm Baba Rahim, hosting the podcast with my co-host, as always, Maulana Sajid, head of the Masjid Umar, the Imam of Masjid Umar, head of the Paradise Academy, and avid volunteer at Our Girlington. MashaAllah. So, Mabsy Alam. So he's my instructor at Jiu-Jitsu. I've been working with him for quite a while. I go over to Leeds, or I used to go over to Leeds every week to see him and learn from him. So today, we're going to be talking about martial arts, self-defense, and fitness, because it's something that Mabsy's passionate at. He's been doing for a long time. We'll get into how long he's been doing it shortly, and something that I also feel very passionately about, and something that the community. I think we need to bring some awareness in the community about it. And we've got Maulana Sahib here, who's going to obviously give the enlighteners on some of the Islamic perspectives to it. So, Mabsy,
we're all safe in it. Nobody's gonna. I'm ready. Okay, if Mabsy's gonna pick on me, I'm ready. Okay, I'm prepared.
I don't know, Maulana Sahib. I was saying to my kids earlier on, it looks like Maulana Sahib always plans these podcasts when Liverpool are playing.
Worry about Maulana Sahib.
Yeah, Maulana Sahib attacking us, Mabsy.
Yeah.
The two against 1 year.
You brought on enough people from Rotterdam against me, Maulana Sahib. I think it's my turn to bring back up. So I bring I bring my jiu-jitsu instructor. Let's see who can top that. So Mabsy, let's start with what martial art is it that you do?
At the moment, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's the main focus at the moment for me. I have done a number of martial arts, but the main focus on what everybody knows me for is the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
And for those of us listening who don't know what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is, what is the essence of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? What is it as a martial art?
Okay, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like wrestling a bit. So it's like wrestling, and mostly on the floor. Okay, so you dominate a person on the floor by getting good positions on them, and then you finish with a submission. Right? Or usually they tap out to that, and they give up. If they don't give up, they're gonna get choked, or they're gonna break their arm or whatever. So they have to kind of give up to that. Unlike some of the striking arts, for example, like boxing, somebody punches you and knocks you out. With this, it's not so much that, it's more like a choke. So if somebody chokes you and you can't breathe and you go to sleep, there's no way, you're not going to be fighting back. The strikers, they still punch and they carry on punching. So this is a little thing with the jiu-jitsu, is where pretty much everyone has to give up when they get choked.
So, Mabsy, is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu similar to what Khabib does?
Very similar. He specializes in the art of Sambo, which is a sister art of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And they mostly specialize in leg locks. That's their thing, the leg locks. But other than that, they're very much the same. The Sambo guys usually wear like what we call a gi top and the shorts. And they're very good at the MMA as well. So they're very similar, they're sister arts.
Because a lot of people are, some people are keen on it and some people are not so keen on it. They don't call it martial, well, they call it more wrestling than, like, I think what you're saying, striking and more, where, is that true or?
Yeah, look, there's a striking element in it. Once you go into the MMA, then you'll get the striking as well. But other than that, it's more of the submissions. So it's just controlling a person. You don't have to hurt a person. You can control them, and they give up, and that's fine. You've not hurt them; they've not hurt you, and it's fine. So the striking element again is like somebody punches you, you get hurt, or they get hurt, and they're bruised. They got a bust up nose, visible. It's like it's not nice. they'll go back, they'll call the police on you, or they'll come back for revenge on you or something. But the thing with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that it is a finish. It's like a submission. Usually people don't get hurt with this, so they can walk away from it and realize what they've done. And
also, one thing, just that with
Baba, your line is very.
Yeah, I've lost you, Baba.
Baba, you're cutting off. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I'll try and rejoin you more myself.
Okay. So anyway, Mabsy, mashallah, like I've got children, so like nowadays people like football or whatever. Why would people want to get into martial arts, or what is martial arts, and why, whether it's what you're doing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, karate, or whatever it may be, why would people want to go into martial arts, and why should people go into martial arts?
Yeah, the thing with the martial arts is, besides the self-defense aspect, okay, everybody needs a self-defense aspect. A smaller, weaker person against a bigger guy, you need that self-defense aspect. It will give people confidence to deal with like situations, and not only that, just be able to deal with the difficulties of life. You could have like a stressful job. One session of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gym for an hour and a half, it'll take your tension away, okay, and you're in such positions that you have to work your way out of these difficult positions, and then when you go out of the gym, when you're dealing with life outside, things become easier and it's not so difficult. If you can deal with guys in the gym, you can certainly deal with the guys outside, so that becomes easier for you. So that's a big thing, confidence. Other thing is obviously if you're overweight, your fitness is bad, you need to do this, and this will reduce your weight. You will get fitter, you will get healthier. It will definitely help you. Okay, and the other aspect of it is the competition side. That depends. If you're into the tournaments and the competitions, and some people are the competitive, so, and it's okay, train hard, and then you can even do tournaments, which can be good, satisfying. It's like a nice hobby for you, or if you're serious, you can go into the professional level. So that's a possibility.
I suppose to get fit, it's another way rather than just going to a gym. And sometimes people can't get motivated; they find it boredom. So if they take this as a hobby, an interest, it can martial arts, then they can enjoy it. They can go through the levels and
that's right.
Progress.
So it's the different levels, and when you start, you're a beginner and you don't even know how to move. It gives you like coordination as well, so you're able to kind of roll. Or if you're falling, you can fall in a way where you're not going to bang your head, you're going to hurt yourself. So you're not hurting yourself, you're able to break fall out of that. And, it will, your movement, self-awareness, all this becomes better. So these are the things, yeah.
Baba, you had a question for us?
Yeah.
No, I was just going to add on to what Mabsy was saying there. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, mashallah. A lot better.
Okay. So the other, and I don't know if Mabsy mentioned it whilst I was off, the other big thing that I've seen when I've been teaching people is confidence. The confidence that you see in kids. You see this little timid kid come in and you teach them martial arts and you teach them how to carry themselves, and they grow and blossom. And that's, I think, one of the big things for me on teaching kids, watching the kids come in and suddenly seeing them confidence, and a little timid kid he's still going to be polite, but he knows he's got what he needs. Then he comes and tells you stories about, so-and-so said something to me, but I didn't want to start a fight, so I just walked away, and stories like that, which, I don't know, just do something to keep you going as a coach and an instructor. So yes, confidence is another big thing for me. And the smile, the fun. You're part of that. You're giving that kid a little part of yourself. So yeah, that's the thing for me. I was gonna add.
Yeah, totally
So,
agree with
Do,
you.
do they discipline
how long?
a child? Do they discipline a child as well?
Yeah, the way you train, you have to be disciplined. You got to listen to the coach. You got to do the exercises. You got to get that perfection in your techniques. Everything's got to be like spot on, and that does discipline you. And
So
also,
I suppose all these factors they help a child, especially in his development, whether he goes to school, mosque, or other
yeah,
factors in life, and or as like you said, he's growing up. If he's got an exam, or if he's facing some bullies, or
yeah,
whatever it may be, he can stand
yeah,
up for
that's right.
himself
It'll give him
and be
confidence, and then the discipline, the confidence, and able to cope with things. Little difficulties, exams, okay, because he's done all this training. Now he's just an exam now. That becomes easier. Or some bully in the school wants to, threaten him or, bully him in other ways. He can deal with that because he's faced that in the gym. Now he's calmer. He's going to be real calm and he'll be able to deal with it. So dealing with situations outside becomes easier. Or if you can train inside where you're getting guys to roll with you inside and they're putting you into like difficult positions and things become easier for you outside. It's easy to cope with.
I don't know. I don't know if you see it as well, Mabsy, but when someone comes in and they're new and you put them in a difficult position where you pin them and you see the panic on their face and they're flailing and then you see it like even 6 months later where they're like, okay, I know what this is now, and they start systematically breaking it down and start getting out of it, and the mindset totally changed. Like people often think of martial arts as a very physical thing, and there is a physical aspect to it. You will get fitter and stuff, but it's what it does to you mentally. I think is the biggest achievement, because to be able to get ground on and get pinned and be mentally drained, but still have that awareness of, okay, I know what techniques I need to do. I know what situation I'm in, and I know what I need to do to get to a better place. I think that's one of the big takeaways from martial arts that people often overlook. That mental thing, and that release as well. That your only problem is here right now. I have to solve this problem here today.
That's right.
And everything that I left at work or outside, I can just release that for this 1 hour. That's
so
another big
when
thing
they're
as
out
well.
there for an hour, all their problems are gone. They just focus on that training in the gym. Everything's out. So all them stresses are gone for that bit of time that they're in the gym. And,
so everything they learn from, especially martial arts and all the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We obviously on this channel we don't encourage violence or we pick on somebody or something. But if a child or a person's in a situation where somebody's picking or somebody started a fight against him, obviously for self-defense purposes. So can a lot of these techniques can be used in a street fight or?
Yeah, I mean, the techniques, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you've seen it work like in the UFC. It's the biggest thing about the MMA is the Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, so if it can work there against professional fighters, it surely can work outside, and it works outside. It's one of the best arts for the outside. There are another couple of arts as well which are good, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for sure, 100% is very effective. Fights usually end up on the floor, okay, and if it goes to the floor, you are going to dominate. Yeah, that's pretty much. What do you think, Baba?
Oh, so 100%. I'm gonna agree. There is a little bit of bias here towards Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So some, especially in the kids class mainly, we do focus on some self-defense techniques. But the main thing is to get yourself in a safe place, to make sure. And I think Mabsy mentioned it about awareness. You got to know what's going on around you. You can't just blindly walk into something and then expect to get out of it. So that self-awareness goes in, and that's with a lot of martial arts, not just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When you do martial arts, you're aware of your surroundings.
That's right.
A lot of the what's going on, like when you're walking into, and this sounds really weird, but you're walking in a shopping center you'll be looking behind you every so often,
Exactly.
just making sure that you know who's behind me. And I'll say to my kids every so often, like, move over, there's someone behind you, what are you doing? And it's because I need to know what's going on behind me, not just what's going on in front of me.
That's right.
So you'll start developing skills. Yeah, you start developing skills like that. But 100%, if you need to put someone to the ground. We do a lot of stuff around takedowns. And what you'll find in a situation where you're confronted with someone, when someone hits the ground, they don't want to fight anymore. They're like, what happened here? So it doesn't take, you don't have to go all the way to the end to submit them. If you can just take them to the ground and pin them, that's usually more than enough. You don't have to inflict pain on them. I think that's one of the beauties of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where I don't start hitting you in the face. If I pin you and I stick my knee into your solar plexus, it takes the wind out of you. That's usually enough for you to go, okay, I know I'm in a bad spot now. I'm going to stop flailing around.
But Bob, would you get time to put him on the floor when somebody, especially like you see on a street fight, somebody just comes and ready to punch you in the face? And do you learn
we
to
train
block
specifically so I'm not going to say we learn
time
to block,
deal with that. You have time to deal with that. You can see that coming because you've trained it so much that you can see that punch coming. You can see that kick coming. You can see all that coming. Another thing I was going to mention was that. Yes, sorry. Yeah, just a quick one is that, like, somebody says something to you, or even does something to you, you become so patient because you've been training and you know the effects of the martial arts that you've been doing, that you could actually hurt somebody, and you don't want to do that. So you become extra patient with people, and you know, if somebody says, "Oh," you just kind of, okay, fair enough. You just walk away from it and ignore it. You become more patient from it, you know, because you know the results of this. So
it's having the choice. It's having the choice. So when something happens like that, having the choice to either escalate it or de-escalate it, it's in your hands, because you know if this goes towards the physical and we end up in a physical altercation, I'll be okay. You have that belief in yourself. But he's probably not going to be okay, so I'm going to choose to not take it. Because I don't need to. I get enough of that in the gym. I don't want to get into situations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Once there's you and your teacher here. Obviously, mashallah, you guys must have been training for years, especially as kids. When we were growing up, you watched Karate Kid, and how many years, and you know, when he's with his teacher,
it's back on now.
Learning.
Karate Kid's back on now.
Is it back on? Okay. So I'm just saying, you see the discipline within that child, especially with his teacher, and he teaches him all the techniques. So how many years do you have to train for this, or is there any belts, or how does it work?
Yeah, belts. Depends on how many times you're going to be training a week, kind of thing. If you're coming in a couple of times a week, you know, it's not as good as if you're coming in like 4 times, 5 times a week. So, you know, if you're training that much, and there's people that train every day, twice a day, now they're going to get there faster, aren't they? So it all depends on how much you want it, how badly you want to train. So if you're nice and steady, I mean, I'd say like a white belt to a blue belt could be 1 year to 2 years. Blue belt is a longer belt. Okay, it's a learning belt. So once you get the blue belt, you should stay on that as long as you can. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I think Salim stayed on his blue belt for I don't know how long. I mean, I'm sure Barbara stayed on these belts for a long time too.
So how many belts are there, and what's the highest belt?
So look, there's white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, and then black belt. Now, in each of them belts, there's like split into sections. Can you imagine like 4 sections in that belt? So they are grades as well, you see.
Yeah.
So they say average time takes 10 years to get a black belt. I've spent a lot longer than that, you know. But this is what they say. So depends on your person.
Mabsy, I have a couple of questions. So just before we
Sure.
get to the questions in here, so Mabsy, how long have you been training?
Okay, so I'd say like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, not as long, but just general martial arts, I'd say like over 30 years.
MashaAllah.
So
A long time on the mat, sir. So we have a question here from Muhammad Abbas.
sorry, you've lost me. Couldn't hear you.
So a question from Muhammad Abbas. What would you say BJJ makes you less reactionary to situations? Does BJJ make you less reactionary to situations?
No, it makes you more reactionary. Why
Okay.
does he say less? I can tell you a situation happened to me. Listen to this. I was doing some building work once. It was going a number of years back. I was actually on a ladder. And on this ladder, I didn't balance it so well. And I was doing a little bit of work. The ladder slipped. And it hit an edge. And it was dangling. And I slipped off it. And because of my grips and my jiu-jitsu, I managed to hold on to the ladder. And then somebody helped me, and I got saved. But it comes from Allah Ta'ala.
Increasing
the
reaction
jiu-jitsu was there. The gripping was there. And if I didn't have it, I probably wouldn't have gripped that ladder the way I did. So I'd say the reaction is better rather than not better.
So you have another question here from Fair Law. Hi, I've got a question from Mabsy. Will sparring grappling be allowed with the current COVID situation?
It's not allowed. It's not allowed. The situation is we're just hoping things get better, okay? And the government gives the go ahead for people to train. At the moment, it's not allowed.
Is that with any contact sport?
Sorry?
Is that with any contact sport?
Any contact sport, yeah. It's not allowed at the moment. It's allowed for elite athletes, and you got to go through an application for that. So if you're an elite athlete, like you competed like professionally and you got paid for it, like competing in tournaments like Polaris, for example, then you can get elite status. So you've got to go through a process. So there is a BJJ body, they call them the UK BJJA. You can go through them and get an elite athlete status. Once you've achieved that, then you can train. So that's like an exception. So that's only one that I can think of at the moment.
So depending on what tier you're in as well, you can in Bradford here we're in tier 3, so there's no indoor training. But for other tiers, if you're allowed to do indoor training, you can do some non-contact styles sort of stuff, which is some stuff that people are just doing. So there are some movements that you can do that are specific to martial arts and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that that you can train.
Gyms can open, but you have to do it like as you mentioned the tiers. And I don't know whether the tiers are the same as they were a few months ago. I think they're changing the tiers as well. So you got to watch or find out what the tier actually says. If it's changed or is it the same? I think they have changed.
I think they're a little bit of difference now. I was reading them earlier on today. We have another question in the comment, Mabsy, and this was to do with balancing life and martial arts. So it says again from Muhammad Abbas, how often should you train if you want to progress up the belts? I'm guessing that is. How do you balance this with family, work, and sometimes it's difficult to even train twice a week?
Okay, I know things become difficult, but you must squeeze some time out for yourself. If it's something that you enjoy, something that's helping you cope with things, you should definitely make time. Maybe when you've got like a half day off work, get that training in, or you can train in the mornings. My gym in Leeds, we're open in the morning normally, like 7 o'clock in the morning. So we get some guys that actually train in the mornings.
Quite regular as well, right?
Yeah. And then they have a shower, go to work. So they can't get that session in. Or if you're working during the day, come in the evening for the time. And you have to make time for yourself. It's easy. Sometimes what it is people like obsessed with work, following the money kind of thing. That'll never stop. You just got to make time for yourself and for your health. And if you make time for yourself and your health, it's good for your family as well, long term. So definitely, I recommend that you make time for yourself and train. I think Abbas is on about how many times a week to progress. I would say, look, about 4 times a week is good. You don't have to get carried away too much. 3-4 times a week is good. That's enough to help you progress. 2 times is probably not enough. It's all right for just fitness. You still get good, but it'll take you longer. Okay, I'd say 4 times a week, Abbas. My opinion on that.
So we have
what's the difference
a
between
brother.
sorry,
Go on,
what was the
Martha.
difference between Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Jiu-Jitsu? Is because it's from Brazil or something?
Yeah, exactly. So the Jiu-Jitsu, which is spelled with a J-U at the front, that's like the Japanese version. It's original, actually, the Japanese. It's more self-defense. Okay, they don't focus too much on the floor. It's more self-defense, and it is good. I'm not saying it's not good. I have trained in it for a number of years. I trained with Sensei Danny Buckley, his name was. I trained with him for a number of years, and I actually got a black belt off him in 2002, I believe it was. And I represented him in some fights as well. So this is a guy called Danny Buckley I trained under. And from there onwards is like, come the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for me as well. But at the same time, I was training with a friend of mine called Les Allen and Max Gillespie. I just mentioned these names because these are guys that train with me, help me as well, you see. So, yeah. So
do you think?
yeah, sorry, I
Sorry,
didn't quite finish it. So the difference now, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is spelled with a J-I-U at the beginning. So that's the difference in the spelling. And the art is like more focused on the floor. They spent so much time on the floor, and the details of the floor work is like on another level. Even to judo, I'd say. And judo, yeah, they're more specialized in like throws. The better are the throws. But the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is better on the floor itself. So the speciality is that floor, the detailed of the floor, grappling. Sorry, you were saying?
I was just saying, do you think Khabib, I'm not even going to mention his second name, had made jiu-jitsu and wrestling all this popular? More,
Yes.
people going into it?
Yeah, 100% is made it popular with the Muslim community. Fantastic. I've been, I can't
Because
praise
realistically,
Everyone wants to be Khabib.
but before the Conor McGregor fight, realistically, I don't think nobody knew of him or heard of him, and until everybody saw the interviews and Alhamdulillah, and then everything. Wow, who's this guy? And then I think people became attracted to what he was doing and his fighting. And and I think like you mentioned earlier, the confident discipline. So I think what you saw was, as well as a good fighter, he was also a good human being.
Exactly.
Do you understand?
Exactly.
Actually, he was a Muslim, but also just a human being that, the qualities that he possessed. He was humble, he was confident, and he didn't put under the competitor, he didn't degrade him. He would always give respect to his competitor. And, it was refreshing to see such a thing, especially when millions of pounds is thrown at you and, people could get lost in the fame and the money and everything.
Exactly.
But, he kept his head on and
kept his head
I
on.
think that's what won people's hearts. And, and
Exactly.
I think, like he said, I think people were thinking, my son should learn jiu-jitsu or learn wrestling or
Yeah.
should learn some of this.
Yeah, fantastic. I can't praise him enough. I mean, the respect that he shows for his parents, amazing, and you don't get that these days, and it's important. Your parents raise you, you must respect your parents. They do everything for you, so you got to give them that respect and, look after your parents. It's a big thing, and he cares so much about his father passing away. He's kind of like, he doesn't want to even fight no more. His father meant so much to him. So, hats off to him, because...
I think these routines that you mentioned is, especially as a Muslim growing up here in England, we should, and I think this is always the message we try to portray through these podcasts, is that you've got to keep your life balanced. There's got to be a time for Allah, your 5 time prayers. That disciplines a person. It keeps you in check. It keeps you who you are. Allah's watching you, every action you're doing. And then, like you said, when you go into the gyms and you're learning some sports, it's like how you mentioned, the reaction, the confidence, the discipline.
Yeah.
It all links in with everything.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And I think it just makes a person better, that he's a healthier person. He's always aware of his surroundings. He's respecting the next person.
Yeah.
He knows his duties and responsibilities. So and I think you can become a rounded individual person, Muslim, when you keep all that. And like you said, when we see like Khabib doing it and he's showing it to the world, and especially at the end of that fight, when you talk about his parents, and thinking, wow, millions of people watching, and and a grown man crying, how much parents mean, how much their upbringing must have meant to him. So and I think all these come from the teachings of Allah and His Rasul, what his parents embedded in him, the teaching of Islam, which our parents always teach us, that respect your elders, respect your parents, respect your neighbors, respect whoever is older than you. Do you understand? Your teachers, whoever they may be. So and I think a person, all these things just link in perfectly. And as a Muslim, we should keep fit. A person that's fit, he's going to do more good actions. Do you understand? Even for namaz, you need to be active to go up and down. So a person who's fit, who's healthy, he's going to be better in his namaz. He's going to be better in his worship. He's going to spend more time focused as well. So yeah, no, I think as Muslim we should, and I think especially in this day and age when obesity is a big issue within children growing
I
up.
lost you a little bit,
We
my
see
brother.
kids. Yeah, and also another thing is that kids are just like stuck on their iPads or their tablets, and they don't come off that. So I think to get them off that and to take them to a gym or take them to like centers that you guys have, and to put them into a class, and where they can go and benefit and learn, I think it's very, very important in this day and age.
I totally agree with you.
So we have
totally agree with you. The respect for parents is so important. Yeah.
So we have another question. We have another comment on the comment. Islam Brothers, what ages can I get my boys to start, and where can we approach gyms and trainers, and what will be the cost? Jazakallah. So
okay, I can talk about my gym and you can talk about
just
yours.
on that. So tell us about Game Fight Brad. Go on then, Mom. Go on, Mabsy.
Yeah, I'll tell you about the Leeds gym. So we do like 3 main classes for kids at the moment, which is on a Monday at 5 o'clock, Wednesday 5 o'clock, and Sunday now at 10:30. The age that I recommend is like 5, 4 if they're quite with it, and anything less than that is difficult because they want to play. So I would say 4 or 5 is okay. Till the age of about 9, that's one group for me, and then the next group is like 9 to 16 we have. So these are the 2 groups that we we have. Charges, we charge like, well, we can discuss that when you come in if you want. It's not a problem. So, Baba, what about yourself?
So at the moment we're just starting off, so we haven't been established quite as long as Mabsy has with the head gym. So at the moment we're doing the kids classes on Saturday at 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock, so you can pick which one you're going to. And at the moment we're doing 7+ as the first age bracket. We'll add more classes as we grow, and this situation with COVID unravels. But just because we're pretty early on in our inception and stuff also. And we're based up Wakefield Road. If you go to Gamefight Bradford, search for it on Google. Or if you're in Leeds, just search for Gamefight Leeds or Gamefight UK. And you get to the UK.
We're near city centre. It's like 10 minutes walk from city centre. Where the Leeds bus station is, just 10 minutes from there. And we got a website, so just Gamefight
so that's that.
Oh.
I think if you could share the details
I'll put them in the comments more myself, and people can get in touch. Muhammad Abbas again, mashallah. I recognize who this is now after he says that as a white belt. I know who. As a white belt, I keep getting tapped out sometimes within the first minutes. Should I only fight people on my own level? So I'm gonna let Mabsy answer that one. Go for it, Mabsy.
Yeah, look, it's okay to get tapped out. It's not a problem. I mean, every time somebody taps you out, you learn from it. Just keep an eye on how they catch you, what kind of positions they get on you, and how they've actually tapped you out. So then you need to like study that or ask Barber help you with defending that. Okay, so it's actually good somebody is able to tap you. So it just shows you what you got to work on basically. If it's too easy for you and you're dominating, then it doesn't show you any holes in your game. So it's better when somebody taps you, you at least know what you got to work on. So don't see it as a negative, see it as a positive, something to work from, and it'll improve your game.
One of the stories I always tell the guys when they're in a little bit of a situation like this is, I used to train at a gym before Gamefight, and this was when I was a blue belt. And at the gym, I used to not get tapped very often. I was all right. I used to go to training, and the only people that could top me out were the instructors. And then I was at a point where I was sitting comfortable. And then I went to a new gym, and I got tapped out, and my eyes open. I was like, wow. And then I moved to the new gym. I moved to the place where I got tapped out because I knew I'm not comfortable here. I'm gonna learn. And I even remember rolling with Mabsy first time we rolled. I was a purple belt at the time. I went to Mabsy's gym, and I was rolling. And I remember how Mabsy beat me up that first time. And I went away, and I thought about that so much.
Remember that. That must have been a long time ago. But...
Don't say you didn't beat me up, Mabsy. You beat me up.
No,
I remember it.
No.
But it was a roll where I went away, and I kept remembering. Say that again, myself. I still what?
I said you're still suffering from the scars of that day.
No, it's fine.
You gotta remember you lost them all, myself.
Barbara, look at the other side of the coin on that then. So, say for example, I dominated you or whatever, but I'm not doing myself any benefit. Although I'm dominating you, so it's better for me if somebody dominates me, and it gives me some holes in my
100%.
game. So. So it's not a bad thing.
And that was the point, 100%. And that was the point. Was when I walked away from it, my mind was ticking like, where did he get me? What position was I pinned in? How did he catch me at the end? And then I'm like, okay. And we've had subsequent rolls, and though you're still beating me, you haven't beaten me in the same way. Right? So that submission, I'm like, oh, okay, I can stop that, and then you do something else, and now I can start moving towards that. And it's constant progression.
Constant.
So 100%.
You got. I said, if somebody's not beating you, you're doing something wrong. You need to go train with the guys that are going to give you a hard time. You train with the coaches then. Just roll with the coaches. If you're able to dominate somebody, just roll with somebody that's better than you at the gym, if you can. So they give you a hard time. And it's good that they give you a hard time. if you can cope with it, again, remember what we talked about coping with life. You can cope with somebody in the gym, you can cope with somebody outside. So it's the same thing.
And the other thing I say is just don't lose hope. New people will come in, and then you'll start realizing how much progress you made. When you're at you're the lowest ranked guy at the gym and you keep getting beat, it's hard sometimes. But that's what that mental fortitude is for. Keep turning up. As new people come in and you start realizing, actually these skills work, you'll start improving. Mabsy, they got some guys here who claim that you keep beating them up. So Maj is just commenting saying, Mabsy, you battered me a good few times.
Oh God, Maj is a fantastic guy. Maj, Iftikhar, all the guys are really awesome. I love training with them guys. Yeah, you know, they've improved immensely. That's all I can say. You know, if I give you a hard time, you know, just take that. I mean, I'll give you a situation about myself in Brazil when I first rolled with Vinicius, and I just couldn't shift him. He's just so strong, and I just couldn't. You know, it was very difficult for me dealing with Vinicius. He's so awesome. So you know, you guys might get a hard time from me, but I got a hard time from him.
Babar, on that point, can you just, you know, my relative Waqar Mahmood, he's also commenting. Just knock him out a few times from me as well. Your next session.
No problem, Maulana Saab. The next order, he's gonna get choked out.
Let him know it's from me as well. Yeah.
Is that
he's listening, Maulana Saab, so he knows.
Yeah, just knock him out a few times from me.
Yeah.
All the grief that he caused me.
I was going to mention a couple of things. I was going to mention about stalling. You mentioned, sometimes what you'll find is that, okay, let's say you've gone on to like blue belt, for example, and you feel like static. Your progressions are stopped. You're not progressing, and you're on that, and it may continue for a while. I just imagine it like almost like a pyramid with steps. And it's going up the steps to the top, and you're on a step. So you're on this step, and this step might be like a short step, or it might be a long step. This step can be a long step. You might be on this for a while, and nothing's happening for you, and then all of a sudden, somebody does something clicks, and then it happens for you, and then you move up. You move up a notch, so you go on to the next step. So, you know, don't despair. I found this that a lot of guys, when they get to that blue belt, they start to despair a bit. So just continue with it. And it's not going to be easy. It can be hard sometimes. So continue with that, and you will go through it. So just a little thing.
You know,
I just wonder. Go.
Yeah.
Go on, Maulana.
Sorry, boy. Now, I was speaking to Waqar a couple of weeks ago, and Masha, he was testifying how good and how the arts that you learn, especially in jiu-jitsu, and he was really highly talking of it, and it sounds good, and it does sound interesting. I remember a story as well, and I was reading a story. On the Battle of Uhud, what happened was. The Muslims, whenever they would go into battle, a lot of youngsters at young age, they would be enthusiastic and they would say, we want to go. So the Prophet ﷺ, what he would do, he would, youngsters at a tender age, he would tell them to go back. So he'd always check his lines. So when he was checking his lines, there was a boy called Rafi, and so he was tiptoeing to look big. The Prophet said, choose me. Yeah, I want to go to fight. And so his father said to the Prophet, he's a good archer, so take him. So the Prophet included him. So Samara, his friend, heard that Rafi had been accepted by the Prophet and he'd been rejected. So he complained to his stepdad that, go to the Prophet and tell him that I can wrestle and I'm better at wrestling than Rafi. and he'd been accepted. I am been accepted, you know. So then this complaint came to the Prophet ﷺ. So Prophet ﷺ called them both. So he said, Samra, you're good at wrestling. Okay, then wrestle Rafi, and if you win, you're going to battle. So Samara defeated Rafi in a wrestling match, and then the Prophet ﷺ said, Samra, you can come as well. And it was just the eagerness of, you know, young teenagers that wanted to go out into the battle, but also how, you know, you can tell that, you know, like you were saying, they must have been wrestling from before. They had that one-to-one battles between themselves, and how eager they were. And so it's very important, especially now the youngsters, to have some kind of interest, a hobby. Otherwise, like I said to you, it's worrying, because a lot of youngsters that we see are just sat on the tablets, sat on their phones, just they haven't got nothing to aim at, and it becomes a sad situation. Then when we have all these issues, it's because of this. I think it's definitely good to have this hobby or an art that they want to, and we should take encouragement when we hear stories like this. That, you know, you should give us. Yeah, I want to keep myself fit, you know, for sake of Allah, for sake of you know, to do good actions, to perform good deeds, so I can pray my namaz. Sometimes you see, you know, youngsters, you know, nowadays sat on the chairs and pray namaz, and simply because they haven't looked after themselves. So, you know, it's very, very important that we do take care of ourselves.
MashaAllah. Muhammad Abbas is eager to ask it, to pick the brains of Professor Wasit here. So we got another question. What should a white belt mainly focus on or work towards?
Defense. Defense is the biggest thing for me. You know, we mentioned again, like, you're going to get tapped out. So let's say, for example, you go into side control and you get armbarred all the time. So now you've got to work on that side control. You know, you need defense for that. So I say defense is the main thing for the white belts. So that's number one thing, defense. And then later on, your attacks will be.
So isn't it what you always, one of the first things people come into the gym and they ask you about is, how do you do an arm bar? How do you kind of, I saw this, how do you do this submission? And it's really hard to try explaining to someone, listen, don't worry about that, because the submissions will come. The submissions will come. We'll teach you all the submissions. But
do you know what
first,
it is,
you have to be able to.
Yeah, they're learning the submissions as they're going, but they should still focus on that defense. But as we teach, we are teaching them, so they are learning it. So they shouldn't, like, as if they're not learning, but their number one aim should be that they don't get tapped out too much, that they can defend. So I'd say defense is the number one thing. So, but I know it's difficult sometimes. So you gotta.
It's not as exciting as learning how to do a spinning armbar, right? It's more exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting. Well, 100%. I couldn't agree more. You have to learn how to do the defense first. It's what the foundation of everything is. From there, you build the rest of the game, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But Baba, you got a comment from Bakar Bonanza. I'm already having a hard time. Why is he having a hard time? Are you picking on him, or
we haven't said anything to you, brother?
I think he's talking about on the mats.
No, that's
he's having a hard time
on the mat. Are you beating him up or something on the mat?
Oh, he's having a hard time.
I'm not giving him a hard time. Also, I'm nice.
So how's the progress? Is he doing okay?
Alhamdulillah. Perhaps doing very well indeed. He's been out here a while. He needs to put his gi on more and start training. But alhamdulillah, he's doing awesome. I'm eager for a lot of these guys alhamdulillah, I'm eager for a lot of these guys through this COVID lifts, and we had this whole thing planned with the new gym and Mabsy coming and opening up the new gym and stuff like that. But we had to, obviously with COVID and stuff, we had to cancel the plan. So I'm eager for COVID to lift, and then we can get Mabsy over, and we can get all these guys in Bradford to meet Mabsy face to face, inshallah. So inshallah, as soon as we kind of are committed to do that, we'll get that.
So you're not going to invite me as well?
Oh, brother, you must come. If you don't come, I'm not coming either.
Oh man, that's it now.
So now you
That's
sorted
it.
it.
As long as you don't get me on the mat and deal with me or
No,
something.
you have to come now, brother, because
I'll definitely be there, inshallah.
so
I'm very happy, mashallah, on
Inshallah.
Baba's pursuit of this gym or the jiu-jitsu place that he's open, and really encourage the youngsters to take something up and benefit from these things that we have. Like I said, mashallah, I think like a time before we used to just do things on the street before. Nowadays that environment's not there. Now people go to a place where there's a setup already. So mashallah, because Baba will have this setup, and we know Baba is a local lad. I think we should benefit from the facilities that he's providing. And may Allah Ta'ala bless you with the new gym and the new place that you've got. May Allah Ta'ala make you successful, and hopefully people benefit from the service that you're providing.
MashaAllah. So, I think we talked about this briefly, and then I'll ask Molna a question. So, Mabsy, what's the impact of COVID that you've seen with the impact of martial arts in your gym? How's COVID impacting it?
You know what? I've seen some of the guys come in now and then, and pretty much everybody's put weight on. They've got beards and stuff. People have been really down with this. Some are depressed, and you can just see it in them. It got to a stage where I started to do some classes outdoor in the park. I had people turning up for that, so we can keep our distances and stuff. This is how bad this has been. This is just really bad, and there have been some suicide rates and stuff. Generally, have gone up. Families splitting, all sorts of things going on because of this COVID. It's a very difficult situation, and I hope things improve and everybody can go back to their gyms. Gyms is like a release, for everybody. No point having them pubs open. These guys have the pubs open and not the gyms. They close the gyms and they open the pubs. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I think the gyms are a priority rather than the pubs and things like that. So, what do you think?
The other big thing that I was just saying the other big thing that you don't see advertised as much in gyms, and especially in the environments that we're in, is the social aspect of it. Like, I genuinely, like, all the guys that come, I feel them as family. So I'm interested in what you're doing. It's not just what you do on the mats, like what you're doing, how's work, how's your study, how's this, how's that. And it's much more of a family feel, and if they have issues, inshallah, I feel like they can talk to me about it, and I'll talk to them about issues I'm having. Like, I'll have a stressful day at work, and I'll go and I'll rant off, and then we'll go try killing each other in a controlled way. And it's more than just a gym. It stands more than that.
It's like a family.
So yeah,
it's like a big family.
100%. 100%. I don't think that side is often portrayed as much as it should be. I think that's it's almost like martial arts. These like really either it's a traditional karate type of thing that people think, or people think of the extreme that they thugs, and to say that that's nothing like what is in a gym. And I invite people to come and look when we're open. And we can invite people in. I invite people to come and look and see what it's like.
Yeah, very friendly atmosphere, and it's just like a family, And you're right about the problems. Everybody has problems, little problems, and when they're in the gym, it just makes it a little easier. They can have a chat with somebody, or if you've got a problem, you can just have a little chat to them, make you 100%. Feel better, get it off your chest. You just feel better, don't you? So
So Mullah Sahib, I want to ask Mullah Sahib, what about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Did he ever wrestle?
Yeah, mashallah. Amazing story. When the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam received prophethood, and in the first few years when he would go around teaching Islam and tell people to embrace Islam, the Muslims, they faced a lot of difficulties and hardships and hard times. And as a Prophet Sallallahu, he reached 50 years old, and this is the first 10 years of prophethood, especially in Makkah, when the Muslims got tortured, persecuted, and the non-Muslims of Makkah. And remember, these were relations or family members or that were persecuting the Prophet and the Sahabas. So there was a man called Rokana, and he was the champion, and he was undefeated as well in wrestling in Makkah. So what happened was, and this teaches a lot about our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he would interact with people on their level, like Masha, you guys just mentioned that when you guys meet up, so it's a family, it's people can take things off the chest, people can talk about issues they're having. So the Prophet ﷺ, he knew Rokana was a champion, and that was his sport, wrestling. So what happened with the Prophet ﷺ, and Rokana didn't like the Prophet ﷺ because of people embracing Islam. So when the Prophet ﷺ came to Rokana and to give him dawah towards Islam, so Rokana goes, before Islam, I want to fight you, I want to wrestle you. So the Prophet ﷺ said, fine, let's wrestle. So the Prophet ﷺ wrestled Rokana, and he power slammed Rokana onto the floor. Rokana is shocked, never has been, taken to the floor. So he goes, no, let's go again. That must have been one off. Let's go again. So the Prophet ﷺ said, fine, let's go. So again, they're wrestling, and again, Prophet ﷺ power slammed him onto the ground. And again, Rokana is shocked, and he goes, I've never been down before. So the third time, he goes, let's go again. So third time, Prophet ﷺ again power slammed him onto the ground, and Rokana is shocked, and he's surprised. And so Prophet ﷺ said to him, why are you shocked? So the Prophet ﷺ pointed towards a tree, and the tree came out with its roots and walked to the Prophet ﷺ and testified that he is the Prophet of Allah, and went back to his place. Rokana, when he saw all these situations, he realized that this man is not a liar. This man is truly the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he declared, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I testify that there no one worthy worship but Allah, and I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his servant and his messenger. But from this story, we learn how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that for Rokana, his thing was wrestling, and so to get him towards Islam and towards success was that I've got to go on to his level. So like sometimes when you give somebody dawah, so it's you've got to understand somebody might be in a profession of IT, so you might have to start those conversations. Okay, IT, yeah, and then slowly you drag them in. And that's our process of work with the people. And he knew that his thing was wrestling. So the process wrestled him in his own sport and defeated him. And then the man realized that not only is he a profitable level, he's won me in my own field, what I enjoy doing. So he won the hearts of the people. So and that's what it is. Our Prophet was unique, and and how he gave, and that's why I think throughout the podcast, it's as Muslims, don't forget your purpose in this life is ultimately to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We talked a lot about discipline, confidence, all these things. Ultimately, it comes with our prayers, it comes with when we're doing sajda towards Allah. That itself is discipline. I'm bowing down to my creator, nobody but Allah. Do you understand? And then during your day, you've got to work, you've got to do tarbiyat of your children, you've got to go to the gym, you've got to look after yourself. These things are important to keep that discipline going. So all these things are, mashallah, factors of life that we've got to do, look after ourselves. Allah has given us this body to look after ourselves so that we can do good actions. And so, mashallah, we can learn so much from our Prophet. And another thing that Mabsy just recently mentioned was, suicidal rates, people at home depressed, especially during this COVID period. And next week, I know we've got podcasts regarding mental health, and this is a big issue. And I think people need to find an interest, a hobby that they can release themselves. They can ultimately, spiritually, they need to go to the masjid and connect themselves with Allah. But physically, they need to also, whether it's a gym workout, whether it's something that you guys are doing, they need to look after themselves, and only then you're going to feel better about yourself. Otherwise, we're sat at home and just putting on weight and it's not going to be good for ourselves and our body, physically and spiritually, and mentally. So,
MashaAllah. Thank you for that, Maza. Mabsy, I have a couple more questions from some of the guys. So one is from a student of mine, Israr, and he's asked, can you ask Mabsy what's the best achievement through jiu-jitsu that you've had?
Yeah, you know, the best achievement of my life is this, and it's maybe the jiu-jitsu helped me with it. Is I fulfilled something. I don't know if I told you that before. I fulfilled something that I promised my mum, and you know, when she wanted me to be there when she died. So that's my best achievement in my life.
mashallah.
Oh, mashallah. MashaAllah. Maj has also asked, what should a brown belt focus on?
Just keep repeating the techniques and get smooth. You know, and roll with as many people as you can. Roll with as many people as you can. And just techniques. There's enough techniques, you know. What it is we don't practice them enough. We just got to repeat the techniques again and again. And then, you know, them techniques that you've done, you'll see more details in them. Okay?
Yeah.
So they'll break down further. The more you go over them, and they'll break down further for you. So you'll see techniques in them techniques. So that's the next stage. So just continue. Just continue. And roll with as many people as you can. And sometimes not so strong as well. Yeah. Technical.
Sorry, can I take you back a question? You must have achieved a lot in your life with jiu-jitsu and all the martial arts you've been doing and whatever else you've done in your life. And you've just mentioned that the ultimate achievement was that you were there with your mum. Can you what do you mean? And can you just
you know what it was I'm youngest in my family. Because there's 7 of us in our family. I was the youngest, and my dad passed away like a long time ago, like 27 years ago or something. And my mum, she was basically, I mean, everybody used to visit her. My sisters were there for her, and she wanted that freedom, but then she got ill. And when she got ill, and then she wanted to move in with me, so she stayed with me. And then I kind of shifted my training to adjust for my mum. So, you know, and they said like the best time I had was with my mum. And it was her wish. She said to me that something happens to me, I want you to be there for me. And, you know, and sometimes I did go here and there, but when she passed away, I was there for her. So that, for me, better than the jiu-jitsu, better than anything else, is that fulfilling
that school that you got in it.
So
that piece that you got.
That I got was like something else. You know, when she passed away, then, you know, it become different. Then I didn't mind, but while she was alive, it was like my duty, you know.
The only reason I took you back, it just puts everything into context that, you know, like we just talked about, Khabib, like no matter the fame, the money, everything, but to see him fall down on the ground and cry,
yeah,
I think whether you're Muslim, non-Muslim, wherever you are, it hit you and thinking, wow, the stages of parents. I've just learned in a lesson of somebody falling in, you know, thing, and like you just mentioned, you know, being there for your mum. You know, sometimes that gives you that contentment that Alhamdulillah, I was there for her. I did her khidmat. I was there to, you know, to fulfill her needs in the last moments. So, you know, Masha, this was an honor that Allah has blessed you with.
You know, it was their wish. Because I was the youngest and she did a lot with me. And, you know, and what I miss about her is she used to always call me. You know, when I used to come back from gym or whatever, she used to ask, "Oh, where is he? Where is he?" So it's you know, this is like, I think for me personally, jiu-jitsu, black belt, this kind of thing. No, I'm not bothered about it. So that was the main thing for me of fulfilling that. she wanted me to be there at the last moment. She didn't want to be alone. So this is what you guys got to do. Is your parents got to be number one. Parents. You only realize that when you
Now the
lose
AC has just extended his thanks and appreciation.
Oh, exactly.
MashaAllah. So there's one more comment that we're going to say. It's MashaAllah, should all parents support and encourage our children to go to the gym, keep fit, MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing, and keep them off the streets and waste their lives. So we'd obviously echo a lot of that sentiment. Mabsy,
Yeah.
It's over an hour, and I want to extend. I want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know we tried getting you on before, but Alhamdulillah, we managed to get you on this time. I really appreciate you coming on. The wisdom and the support that you give us is truly amazing. So thank you from myself. Thank you from everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Maulana, it's been a pleasure to see you, my brother.
No, nice to see you, Mabsy, and mashallah. Hopefully, we'll see when things get better.
We'll catch up, inshallah.
Yeah, definitely, inshallah.
Baba, thank you again. Jazakallah.
Thank you, Mabsy. So,
okay.
Inshallah. So, just before we close off the podcast, some housekeeping stuff. So I'll put in the comments where you can get in touch with Mabsy, Game Fight Leeds, or you can get in touch with myself from Game Fight Bradford. Down at the bottom, Masjid Umar is still building the new masjid. So if you would like to donate and help with projects and things like that, across the bottom of your screen, there's a contact detail, sort code, account number. If you want to do the transfer into the masjid account and help yourself.
On that note, Baba, sorry to disturb you. On that note, when we're building the new mosque, the top floor is a dedicated community center where we are thinking of these kind of activities that we will run, inshallah. So as well as they'll have their madrasa classes in the evening after their long day at school, they'll also have some sessions where they can do jiu-jitsu or martial arts or whatever it may be. And I think that's the things that we've set up in the upstairs hall of the masjid, and that's dedicated towards the community. So that's why please do donate towards the masjid so we can make this a reality, so we can, like we said, keep the kids off the street and engaged in their worshipping of Allah and being good to others and staying healthy and fit and looking after themselves.
I remember and I'm not part of the committee, but I remember some of the committee meetings where they were designing the masjid, and they were like, "Oh no, we're not gonna have a big dome." Where everyone wanted a big dome, and they're like, "No, we're not gonna have a big dome. So we keep the space for the community, and the kids can go up there and can have a flat roof with lots of space, and we can do activities in there and stuff like that." So I remember the committee were really heartfelt and truly wanted something to go towards the community and as much space for the community as possible. So bank details down at the bottom. There's a GoFundMe link. Hit that up if you want to just put your card details and do it by that way. Or if you want to do it good old fashioned cash in hand, then give the call to Brother Zulfikar and you'll find a COVID safe to get that money from you. Next week we're going to be talking about mental health. Maulana Sahib, who have we got on next week?
There'll be a couple of guests. I don't know their full names, but inshallah we'll get the posters.
We're still arranging that. So next week we're talking about mental health and how to cope with mental health. So tune in next week 7 o'clock for that one. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate everyone in the comments and everyone listening. We really appreciate you joining us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.